All right, let's talk about the new Nolan film, Oppenheimer. Mr. IMAX himself. How did it do? Find out right now. All right, let's talk about Oppenheimer. But first, I have a little bitch fest. So, I sat next to, of course, the theater was full. And the girl next to me, this device here is both a blessing and people's folly. She could not let this thing go. The movie was 3 hours long. She could not let this thing go for 3 hours. 3 hours she had this in her hand, playing pool. I really wanted to say something, but I just didn't feel like an altercation. But 3 hours, I don't even know why she was in the theater. She had this the whole movie, the entire movie. She did not pay attention to the film, not once. Not once. She put it down, and it was like a junkie. As soon as she put it down, she'd snatch it back up. Because it could not leave her. She felt like something was missing, as if she had lost a finger every time she put that thing down. And I really wanted to say something because she was so distracting. But I'm like, I just didn't feel like it. Her mom was sitting next to her. And when I say girl, I'm talking about a teenager. She'd be like 18. And just, not even a young kid. But I don't know. I did not enjoy my experience because of her. But let's talk about Oppenheimer now that I'm off my soapbox about people having phones in the theater. They really should just confiscate them as soon as you walk in the door. They should confiscate them and then give them back to you when the theater's over. But, that'll never happen. But anyway, before I start, I am trying to grow my channel. So make sure to like and subscribe. Take the little bell icon and make it darker so you get notified of everything that I got going on. All right, so let's start with what I did like about the film. Because I got to tell you straight out, I am not a Nolan supporter. I know a lot of people drink that Kool-Aid called Nolan. Oh my God, he is the best director ever. I love everything he does. He can do no wrong. Oh my God, he's Nolan. Oh, he's Nolan. Let me. I am not worthy of Nolan. Oh, Nolan, he's a lame. Oh my God. That ain't me. That ain't me. I like very little that he does. I don't not think he's the best director in the world. I think he's very mid. I like a lot of the Batman stuff he did, but is it my favorite Batman stuff? No. And, like Tenet, that was unwatchable. That he was so on himself on that thing that he didn't really even care about naming his main character. The main character's name is Protagonist. It was all about the gimmick. That thing was unwatchable. I about walked out of Interstinker. That's what I call Interstellar. Interstinker. I hated that film with a passion. I liked Inception for the most part. And the other one he did about the guys with the magic, I liked half of it. So, yeah, every time he has a movie coming out, I have very, very low expectations. Not because of the quality of the film, but because of where he takes it. He loves this existential stuff, and it just does not work. He just beats himself off. He loves himself so much, it's crazy. So at least here, we had a coherent story because he was, like even Dunkirk, I couldn't watch that either. It wasn't really a story. It was a day in the life of Dunkirk. So it was just everything going on that day, as much as he could throw into that. But at least here we had a coherent story. But again, he didn't tell a microcosm of that story. He told everything. He might as well start off when he was a baby. So he says, well, how much can I throw into 3 hours? Like, here's the bathtub, and let me throw as much stuff in here as possible. Oh, it's overfilled. Keep throwing stuff in there. So you really have to keep up with what's going on because literally there are 3 storylines going on simultaneously. Okay? We have the storyline of him trying to get his security, and he knows that if he doesn't get his security, they're claiming he's a communist. Okay, so it was the whole McCarthy era, and I didn't realize. See, that was one thing. I love history, so if I can learn something from a film, and that's why The Girl Next to Me, this was a history film, and she could give a shit. She didn't care. She cared more about what was going on TikTok than learning about history, American history. And I got a problem with that. But anyway, so the more I can learn about history from a film, the more I'm engaged with it. Okay, so there are a few things I took away from this, which I really appreciate. So we have him trying to get, his security reissued, but instead they're calling him a communist. But I didn't realize that there was so many during the McCarthy era. Everybody was being called a communist because there was so many communist movements and chapters that sprang up at that time. So they took it too far by calling everybody a communist, kind of like everybody's a racist today. So it's that same thing. We're kind of reliving history at this point, because you could see a lot of parallels between what's happening today and what was happening in that time period. And I even like how they did the 50s look. So it goes back and forth between black and white and color all the way through. And I appreciated that too. It was an interesting idea. I didn't dislike that. Was it really needed? No, it was just a choice. Okay, you want to be artsy? Okay, it's interesting. But he was going through that, and he was also there's a trial as well, but so that's already confusing because you have these two things going on simultaneously, where we also have the trial going on, but it's not connected in any way except for one through line. It's a different time period completely. And then, of course, you have the history of him going through school, meeting the people that he's meeting, getting hooked up with the Matt Damon's general, and then starting everything in Los Alamos. And I had seen the Manhattan Project on Hulu, which is where I first got introduced to the girl playing Lois Lane now, who is part of Miss Maisel. She was the wife in that, playing Emily Blunt's character right now. But there was some interesting stuff that I learned. David Harbour was also in that. And there's some interesting things I learned about that, where because they were on this time crunch, they pitted two different groups against one another. So they were both vying for the same thing, but they thought that by making competition happen, they would make things go faster. So that wasn't in here at all. But at the other side, what I didn't realize, which I don't think I've ever realized, I learned something for today for sure, was that by the time they finished the bomb, Hitler was already defeated. He was already dead. And a lot of the scientists had grouped together to push against even completing the bomb and testing it and finally dropping it, because they thought it was unnecessary because Japan was the only one. They felt like Japan was gonna surrender anyway. And they find out later that it was pretty true. But they said, no, Japan's never going to surrender. And we have to drop two bombs, because one, to show what we're capable of, and the second one, to tell them we can duplicate this as many times as we want. So it was very interesting. But it's told, and this is where it throws me. First of all, it's way too long. There's no reason for this film to be as long as it is, except for self-flatuation. It was him not being able to cut anything. It's my baby, so I'm not cutting anything. And I'm Christopher Nolan, so you're going to say yes to whatever I say. And they were like, yeah, no problem. You do whatever you want because you're amazing. So we have a 3-hour movie that does drag a lot. It drags a lot. So we have the intercut of all those three storylines continually, bam, 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 and then we have microcosms of his life that are thrown in there. Okay, we need to tell this. We need to tell this piece. We need to tell this piece. So it's like, okay, we're cutting this in here. We're cutting this in here. Oh, we need to tell this little story in here. So there's never any continual through line at all. It's chunks of his life all kind of mixed up. And that's the part I really wasn't happy with. But what we do get is Florence Pugh naked. Topless through a lot more than I thought she would ever do. And she looks a lot better than I thought, too. So we do get that. That's worth the price of admission right there. But Nolan does bring out some amazing performances. So I didn't even realize Josh Hartnett was in this, and I hadn't seen him in a while. He was in that Operation. Oh, good. What was that thing called? With Guy Ritchie's film. I forgot what it was called, but Operation something. And I really liked that film. But anyway, he popped up in that as an actor, like an over-the-top actor. And then we had him in this, so he's kind of gone back on the career path here. He did a really good job. But of course, the standout is Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., and Matt Damon. They steal. I can't tell you who is better than who, but they're all very intense in their own way. And then the other guy from Solo popped up. I forgot his name, but he popped up, and he was good. There's a whole lot. Like Matthew Modine has a little thing in here. Kenneth Branagh has a little. They all have these little cameo roles, but because they're working with Nolan, I think they're willing to do kind of whatever just to be in a Nolan film, and they bring it. Every one of them brings it because they don't want to let him down, which I appreciate that support. They're like, oh, I'm going to work with Nolan, so I'm going to bring my A game, and each one of them does. You can't say anything negative about the acting in this film. You just can't. It's amazing. And of course, we see the Manhattan Project, Los Alamos, a little town that we've seen 100 times. And, we get to see his home life with his wife. We learned a lot more about his wife in this. And they didn't, and of course it's because it's Nolan, they didn't race swap anything. There was a few, well, he also had a female scientist on his thing. It was the girl from Dredd. That was also from Juno. I can't remember her name, but she's really good anyway. I like the stuff that she's in, and I think I saw her in a play once too here. But anyway, she was really good, and she was one of the ones that was leading this little kind of insurrection thing. Like, we don't want to drop the bomb. But yeah, so I learned a lot about the communist stuff in this. I learned a lot about the community on the the town that they had created, and I learned a lot about what happened beyond it. Where he and Robert Downey Jr. Are against one another, and also this is the first time I'd ever seen the relationship between him and Einstein. So that was all very interesting. So I found a lot of it I liked. It just, you could have cut this thing down a half hour, at very least a half hour. And I don't like the multi-cutting of the storyline all the way through it. I just wasn't a fan of that. But anyway, overall, I liked it. I do recommend it. I will never see this film again. This is a one-shot, just like Barbie. One shot, one and done. But at least with Barbie, I want to forget that thing as quickly as I can. And thank God I went to see Oppenheimer after Barbie, because I could grow my balls back. Wow, that thing is nasty. But this one at least held my attention for the most part, even though I found myself kind of wandering a little bit here and there. But overall, it was good, and I recommend this one as opposed to Barbie, which I definitely do not recommend it unless you know you're going in to a grinder if you're a man, and if you're a woman, just don't take your man with you. Just don't take your man with you. Don't just go with the girls, and you can rah girl power. And definitely don't take kids to it, because you're gonna have a lot of explaining to do. But anyway, yeah. So let me know what you guys think of Oppenheimer. Did you guys like it? Did you think Nolan did a good job? Did you like the multi-cutting storylines all over the place? And what do you give it? I didn't even rate Barbie because that to me was like a 2, maybe a 1.5. I just want to give it something because of the production design. Here we had some really good production design. I like the costumes. The hat that they picked for him is obviously going to be very iconic. His look alone was going to be very iconic from this point on, I think. And I'm going to give this one out of 10, probably a 7. It's a 7. Again, it's not a movie I'm going to watch again, but I thought it was well done. All right, and one of the better Nolan films for me. I got to say that. All right, so make sure to like and subscribe. I'm trying to grow my channel. Try to watch my reviews and stuff all the way through. We do. I'm not going to be doing board games for a little bit because I am. If you saw the other side of this camera, I have boxes everywhere. I'm moving to Atlanta. In fact, you're starting to see stuff go up here. My pod is coming in tomorrow, so I'm going to start packing galore tomorrow. But anyway, let me give some speech on my stuff here. It's my sci-fi series, Destiny Aurora. This is a 4-novel series and a board game and an RPG and an audiobook and all this stuff. And, we have plenty of aliens and space battle and all that stuff here. So if it's a whole story, it's 150 pages, only $20. And then we have my vampire mob in the 50s. We have Lords of L.A. So this is more of an adult book. I have plenty of nudity and blood and guts and gore and all that stuff in here. But this is issue 1 and 2 together. It's in a volume 1 and volume 2 we're working on right now. So I will be releasing that on Kickstarter generally soon. It's probably when I land in Atlanta sometime. And then this, which is also on my shirt, is my new fantasy novel, Tales of Ravenor the Iron Witch. And we are working, me and Mike Spiderslayer, if you haven't subscribed to his channel, if you like comics, I suggest doing so. He and I are working on a comic right now called Razor Fox. And I am pretty close to the first issue being my first draft of that. And then I got to send it over to him. All right, so thanks again for watching, guys. And I appreciate you guys supporting my channel. And again, thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to me. All right. And let me know what you guys think of Oppenheimer.